My mom's parents are in Hawaii. My mom is actually the fourth generation Japanese that born in the United States. So she's a sansei, which most sanseis are my age. And so they came and worked in the cane fields and near Hilo. And then she ventured off to Spokane to see her great uncle in Spokane. And he said, you know, I want you to stay a little bit longer because my best friend's son is coming home from school in Chicago College. And so she did, and that's how she met my dad. And he eventually became an optometrist. I think the first Asian Japanese optometrist in Spokane. My dad had a practice downtown, and he saw all kinds of clients. We didn't really figure out till after his death at 40 how much he really gave his services to the community. People came after his death to give my mom money because he had never charged them. So, and he did a lot for the church. He was really involved and instrumental in moving this new building forward. And so my mom and dad played, I think, a huge role in Spokane. And my dad, right before his death, was elected to be the Washington State president of the Optometric Society. So it was a huge honor. Church became a real central piece in terms of cultural, religion, and my friendships. My best friend attended this church.
Describe your parents' personalities.
My mom, she's driven. She's a taskmaster. If you ever watched the show Fresh Off the Boat or the Joy Luck Club, nailed it. She's very, she'll go to a lot of work and then say, oh no, but it's not very good. She was widowed very young, so she really started to work. She had a high school diploma. My dad was college educated. And so she really pulled herself together and put me through school, put me through college, took care of me as a single parent, which then was pretty difficult. She worked at Gary Middle School. Well, she worked first for Spokane Public Schools downtown in the ad building in personnel. And then she got a job at Gary keeping track of kids who skipped school, which I think we should still have because I'm a school counselor and that would be tremendously helpful for me. And she would track them down. She would go to their home, she would pick them up, she would get them back to school. And those kids really, what they needed was someone they knew who really cared. And that was my mom. Like, she gave 110%. And so some of those kids still keep in contact with her. They send pictures of their children, and it's been over 40 years. And she really made an impact. And like I said in the beginning, she's the reason they have those tennis courts. So she's always been involved with young people and giving back. She moved to Pasadena for a while and was awarded by Pasadena, the city, for her work in the garden at the senior center. And my dad was tall for a Japanese person. He was almost 6 foot. Funny, very, very kind. Worked with a lot of young people in our church. The basketball trophies, he was their coach. They would go to him if they had concerns or questions. His door was always open at his office. He hired young people from high school to work in his office in the afternoon after school to help them pay for college. He helped some of them get their driver's license. He was very active, not only in our church, but community-wide. He was on a lot of boards, very fair man. People always wanted to be around him because he could make the worst meeting okay, just by his temperament. He was really beloved by many, many people. I wish I could have had him for longer, but you know, in his death, I really saw, I was 12, but I really saw what an impact he made on this church and the community, and because he never really talked about all he did. But then I realized how much he did give back to his community, and so I think that's where I get my thought on how, you know, really it is to give back to your community and to serve your community. But it's interesting because my kids said, oh, they won't marry anyone Asian. I said, why? They go, it comes with an Asian mother-in-law. I go, well, what am I? And they go, oh, yeah. I said, but it is. I mean, I think, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think we grew up with some real strong values that hopefully we passed on to our children, such as being honest, working hard, giving 110%, don't whine, be kind, and help others. This church, if you go back to each person probably that you interviewed, and they won't tell you, but in some way they have made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. I don't even know if they even realize how many people's lives they have touched in a positive way. So it's an amazing group of people who are so humble. They would never think or even know that they have done that, because it's just what they do. Just a quiet generation that's incredibly strong. All of us, my generation, really benefited. Most of our parents worked 2 jobs to get us through college. You know, I think it started as a mission church with Mrs. Ellis and Mrs. Butler, and grew. It was really a safe haven. It's where they did their social events, because really you couldn't go out and right after the war in big groups, because they'd probably raid you. And so here is where their social activities took place, where they, you know, we had carnivals, and we did picnics and all kinds of family things through the church and through the JACL. So I think it was where you could let your guard down. You could speak Japanese. I know the Issei's did. And it's where we really, I think, felt the foundation and the importance of being a good Christian, but also a good citizen. I think the two really intertwine here, and it's hard to separate it. It's hard to separate the social piece and the church piece, because it's so intertwined. And I think that gave us all a foundation, because we were here. We, you know, I grew up with all my friends, you know, in the church, even though I didn't live by any of them. But I think, and also we encouraged each other. And I think that's a good thing. It's family, and you know that if you stumble, they'll always be there. They'll help you. So I think that was a big integral piece of this church. But it is hard because there aren't that many Japanese families. in Spokane, or minorities for that fact. So, our congregation is aging, and now I think in the beginning it was hard to open the doors to others just because of all the unsaid things that had happened to them. They still won't talk about it. So, but now they're starting to think about the future, to help this church grow. It might not be an all Japanese congregation, but to help it grow. And for a while, the conference even had their own Japanese conference. But most churches aren't all Japanese anymore. So I think we're opening our doors. I think by doing this production is a big step, because most of these people will tell you they don't have a story, they didn't do anything important, and they don't want to talk about it. But it is important history of Spokane and this church, and they did do amazing things. I grew up in this church. It's been a huge part of the way I think, the way I treat people. A lot of it has to do with the people I've been surrounded by, all my Japanese aunties and uncles and this church family. And I think really by watching the way they live their lives was a huge lesson, and feel very fortunate that I had that.